And welcome everyone to the winners presentation and the final ceremony of the clinical trial optimization competition that we were hosting on Aqora together with Ingenii. So today we are Laia and me walking through this event. Laia will briefly introduce herself soon. First few words about myself. So I'm Yannis, the co-founder and CEO of Aqora, and actually with Aqora that we have started earlier in this year, we are building this global quantum community hub. And one aspect of this is building these quantum competitions platform. As of today, we have more than 450 registered quantum experts that provided more than 180 solutions. And by the end of the year, we will have addressed more than 20 use cases with quantum computing solutions. That is use cases like the one that we are seeing the presentations for today. And happy to hand over to you, Laia.
Yeah, thank you so much, Janice. Nice to meet you all. Thank you for being here. I am Laia Domingo. I'm the Chief Science Officer of Ingenii. I'm based in Barcelona, in Spain, but our company is a global team and it's based in the US. So what is Ingenii? So Ingenii is a deep tech company focused on developing quantum machine learning solutions for life sciences. We provide research and enablement services, and we are developing a learning and development platform to accelerate the adoption of these technologies for data scientists within life sciences. And one of the questions that we have to ask and answer is, why is quantum useful? What problems are suitable for quantum computing? And among the research that we're doing, we're looking for use cases within healthcare and pharmaceuticals. And today we're going to present one of these use cases that some of you have solved and have provided some very useful approaches to solve this problem. So this problem is about clinical trial optimization and in particular patient stratification. Janice, if you can go to the next slide. Thank you. Okay, so let's provide a bit of a background. So in the field of drug discovery, when a new drug is presented before going to patients, it has to go through a series of clinical trials, right, to get approved. But the problem here is that the failure rates of clinical trials are very, very high. Some of them are higher than 70%. And this means that there are very high costs associated to it. And at the end of the day, that patients won't get their medicine soon enough, right? So there are a lot of factors that can influence the success or the failure of clinical trials. And here we are tackling one of these challenges, which is patient stratification. Patient stratification means that when you're going through a clinical trial, you're going to recruit a certain group of patients, and then you're going to split those patients into 2, 3, or more groups. Usually, if you have 2 groups, there's going to be a control group and a treatment group. Then you're going to go through the treatment phase, and then you're going to analyze the results and see if the treatment was effective or not, and what statistical significant results you can obtain from that. Right now, what is being done in the industry is randomization. This means that the patients are assigned randomly in one of these 2 groups. But then what happens or can happen is that the distributions of some of the attributes associated with the patients, for example, gender, or age, or blood type, or any attribute that's relevant to the disease that you're studying, these distributions might be very biased. So for example, there might be more men than women in one of these 2 groups. And these, at the end of the day, can lead to not having statistical significant results for the drug that you're testing. And this can be one of the causes of the clinical trial failing. So the approach that we have taken here is, instead of this randomization, instead of assigning patients randomly, let's try to solve this as an optimization problem. So here we formulated this problem as this optimization that you can see here and that the presenters are going to talk about today. And the idea is that we want to make the distributions as similar as possible in terms of the average and the standard deviation of each of the covariates. And in this challenge in particular, we're going to use a Mayo Clinic dataset, and the clinical trial is related to primary biliary cholangitis. That's an autoimmune disease related to the liver. And we will have 3 covariates that are related to this disease. One of the covariates is the age of the patients. And the goal of the participants will be to design a quantum algorithm that minimizes this optimization problem. So this discrepancy that we see here, we will try to minimize. So here, we're going to give different scores related to the discrepancy. The smaller the discrepancies that you get between these two groups, the higher the score. And then we're also going to analyze other aspects of the solution. So how scalable it is, how does it compare with classical solutions, and how feasible it is to implement in the real setting. And I have to say that I'm very, very happy to have seen all the submissions that you guys provided, because not only did you get very, very high scores, so small discrepancies, actually, some of you got discrepancies that were better than the baseline that I provided, just to see how this was going. So I'm very happy about that, but also because you all provided very different insights, very different solutions. And I think that's the best part of these kind of competitions, that we can all learn from each other. So there's probably not just one good solution, but there's a lot of knowledge among all the submissions that you guys provided. So I'm very happy for that. And well, now is the time that the winners of this competition are going to present the results. And then after they all present, we're going to announce the order of the winners. So who gets first prize, second prize, third prize, right? So we can see that there are 4 people that are going to present. The first one is David Bernal Neira and his team. So he's going to be the first presenting. Then we're going to go to Oleksii Adamov. He's going to be the second one. Then Peter Young, and finally Julien Mellaerts. So remember, guys, that you have 10 minutes to present your solution, and then there's going to be 5 minutes for Q&A. And both Janet and I can ask questions, and also we invite everyone from this call to ask any questions during those 5 minutes. So that's all. Let the fun begin. I would invite David or someone from his team to present if they're here.
Yeah, I think I've seen David now. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there you are.
Can you see my slides?
Yes.
Perfect.
Hey everyone. Oh, sorry. Give me just one sec. Sorry. I do enable this. Maybe I will remove this subtitle. Anyway, first of all, thank you so much. It was a true pleasure for us to participate in this call. I'm David Bernal. I am the principal investigator of a research group called SECQUOIA. I'm an assistant professor in chemical engineering at Purdue University. And our approach is based on something called the Graeber augmented multi-start algorithm. So I'll use, this is just a little bit about myself. So I'm a physicist and chemical engineer. As it did say in the slide, I did my PhD at Carnegie Mellon University. And then I spent a little bit of time at NASA Quantum AI team, where we were evaluating uses of quantum computing for optimization, computational chemistry, machine learning. So we have been having a little bit of fun with this kind of problems. Nowadays, I do spend my whole time dedicated in Purdue University and mainly to my research group, of which a subset were the ones that participated with me in this challenge. So the short story is that I came across the announcement of the challenge a little bit too late. It might have been September. And when I saw the problem, I was like, oh, this is trivial. So yeah, whatever, try to solve it. And then Tiago, Yerang, and Pedro took the challenge at heart, and they actually disproved me and told me, look, this is not trivial at all. And in fact, we ended up coming up with something really nice. So these are just 4 of my group members. We have a bunch of people from all over the place. So, and we're constantly recruiting for visitors, PhD students, postdocs, and so forth. So if you're interested, just reach out. There is a QR code from our group. Anyway, how did we tackle this problem? We identified that this problem is a discrete nonlinear optimization. Some people in the field of optimization like to call this mixed interior nonlinear programs. And these problems have both linear and nonlinear constraints. and continuous and discrete variables. Then, as you might know, this is not only applicable in clinical trial optimization, but it has a lot of applications in chemical. Here I list a few. There are many other applications outside of chemical engineering. So we have stuff in medicine, like the clinical trial optimization or this gamma knife cancer treatment, or civil engineering, machine learning itself, computational biology, network design. And we feel confident with these problems because these are kinds of problems that we have been working for a few years. I personally did my PhD thesis in this particular topic. So we basically identified that there is a big difference between what you can model with this kind of nonlinear discrete optimization and what you can solve. And in fact, like there is a lot of challenging problems out there that need to have better solutions than the ones that we can provide with existing tools, which are really great news, actually, because in fact, that motivates us looking into more innovative ways of solving these, in particular quantum computing, right? So I did work classically in improving some of the algorithms, and I like implementing stuff in open source software. So when I saw the challenge, I was like, oh, this one is perfect. Like we will get to publish our solution. We'll get to work with a challenging discrete nonlinear optimization problem. It's very related to application. So let's go for it. We have been applying this for other things, which, I mean, for the sake of this presentation, goes beyond the point. By the way, I am not currently at Purdue. I'm currently at the University of New Mexico because they invited me to an event here. So that's why the team is all spread around. But usually we sit down together at in West Lafayette, Indiana, to work. So anyway, let's cut to the chase. We do identify, like on the classical side of things, that there are many methods based on divide and conquer. They are called branch and bound methods, and these are usually like the state-of-the-art methods to address discrete optimization problems in general, right? And then you basically have all these super efficient commercial codes that go at them and take these problems and solve them as if not. In fact, in particular, like um, our first approach to try to address this problem was just formulated as a mixed integer program and pass it to one of these commercial tools. And that's what we were using as our benchmark to know whether we were doing a good job or not. And obviously, like there is this exponential complexity in the worst case scenario that we want to avoid. There are another kind of methods which are not very popular called methods based on test sets. And basically, these are algorithms based on some tool called augmentation. So basically, the idea is that starting with a given solution, you can start jumping between discrete and discrete solutions. In branch and bound, usually you go through the continuous and then you start making those decisions. No, here you have like some steps that you can take. And this uses another branch of mathematics, which is very beautiful, called algebraic geometry. It also has global convergence guarantees in certain cases, but there are very few implementations of it. And what's super duper interesting is that they have like this so-called polynomial oracle complexity once you have to test it. So what this means is that basically you need to evaluate the objective only a polynomial number of times in order to augment an initial solution to an optimal solution. So anyway, with this, our approach, we call it gamma, and it's a hybrid quantum classical optimization. And it basically requires us to compute a Graber basis. This can be done with a junction of quantum and classical, and in fact, we did provide an implementation for that. Although for this particular problem, I was able to derive an analytical expression for this. Now, we can find many initial feasible solutions, points where to start the augmentation, and this will rely entirely on quantum methods. In fact, we really like the fact that they are not aimed to solve the problem to global optimality initially, but they do perform like a uniform sampling, and that gives us like many diverse initial solutions to start augmenting. And then the augmentation gets from class. So it pretty much looks like this. We have our problem, and it's subject to linear equality constraints. And then on one side, you want to compute this mathematical object called the Graber basis. On the other side, you're computing many initial solutions. And each one of these problems, we can formulate them as something called a quadratic unconstrained binary optimization, which is equivalent to a model in statistical physics called the easy model. And what's even more interesting is that there are quantum algorithms designed to address this problem. You can nowadays, the few that come to mind, you can call a quantum annealer. So, for example, D-wave tools, or you can use on gate-based computers variational quantum algorithms, such as there is one very famous, which is the quantum optimization, quantum approximate optimization algorithm, QAOA. Anyway, so you use them in this part of the algorithm, and then you perform some post-processing and some classical augmentation. So here is a little bit of theory, a little bit irrelevant, but the point is that given this test set and the objective function satisfying some conditions, in particular that is convex, then you have guarantees that you can converge to the optimal solution. So what do you need? Let's say this is another example, not the one that we're covering here, but this is a 4-variable example. And you can see this problem like projected to 2 dimensions. So given an initial solution and an objective that is telling us go the most to the upper left corner, maybe, so you want to get to this solution. The cool part about this algorithm is that once you have this direction, you can start from any point here and then just keep augmenting. So you can, oh, sorry, this arrow is white, it's showing the white. But anyway, you start from here, you jump here, then you jump all the way up here, then you jump all the way up here. And the way that you perform the jumps is that you sit in each one of the points and compare the objective function of the neighbors based on those directions. If that direction is better, take the step. That's pretty much it. It's in a sense, it's a little bit greedy, but it works actually. It converges to a global optimal solution given some nice structure of the objective function. So anyway, you might say like, okay, wait a second, like are these guys cheating, right? Because you say a polynomial number of steps, but these problems are empty hard. They don't accept polynomial algorithms unless p equals some p. So where's the catch? And the catch is how do you compute these solutions? How do you compute this direction? And in the general algorithm, we relay that to a quantum annealer to give us basically a subset of this direction, or in this particular case, you can derive them. And basically, you do get combinatorially many, but that's still doable for the practical solution. So anyway, sorry, I took most of the time explaining the approach itself. If you want to learn more, actually, when I was at CMU, I designed this class on quantum integer programming. And one of the lectures is particularly in this method. And we have like open source implementations, and everyone can use them, and everyone can exploit them, and it's a lot of fun. So I'm dropping this here. I wish I had enough time to wrap up the slides, but let me, if time allows, I'll just tell you a little bit about the problem itself and how could we solve it. So basically, this is the problem that we're dealing with, right? This is the
David,
problem
we
that
don't
we're
see your
dealing with.
screen anymore.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me share this. I think you should be looking at my
Yes,
20
we
slides
see
in this
the
single
overleaf.
page. Yeah, there we go. So this is the problem that we were dealing with, and originally, I thought, okay, well, this is very trivial, right? Because although it's mixed integer in its definition, like this delta mu, delta sigma are continuous variables, in reality, like they're just functions of binary variables. So, and not only that, those binary variables, they are subject to some equality constraints. So maybe we can replace one with the other. And that's precisely what that first step that we did. So what we ended up doing was like, oh, let's just have one variable instead of two. Instead of xi1 and xi2, let's just have yi. And you can start replacing all of these constraints. Also, the fact that to break symmetries, the first patient was assigned to the first group. So at the end of the day, you ended up with this single constraint. This over here. It's kind of a funky constraint, if you think of it, because it's a knapsack constraint with a negative width. And for this, usually traditional knapsack algorithms wouldn't work so well. But anyway, you can always reduce this problem and to have it being purely binary, right? Wait, there we go. Being purely binary. And this is the problem that we're dealing with. If you look at this problem, this is exactly the same kind of problem that our gamma algorithms love, which is purely binary and then subject to a single linear equality constraint. So the trick here was, okay, let's compute some feasible solutions from this constraint. So basically you take this, you square it, you minimize that. And the other one is let's compute the kernel of this constraint. So basically, what combinations of y would make this sum not equal to -1, but equal to 0? Because with that we can get the augmentation step. So within the code we did implement like a couple of pretty heuristics. So basically, you know, instead of taking the best possible step, they take the first one that you find, and instead of doing a single point that you augment, just rely on a quantum algorithm to give you 20 different initializations, all of them rather good and diverse. And at the end of the day, the code is freely available. We have it on GitHub repository, so anyone can check our work. But this is how we tackle the problem. Sorry, I think I took a little bit more time than I was supposed to, but I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
Thank you.
by the way,
Thank you very much, David.
one last point is when we try to do the traditional QBO approach, right? We tried to write it down with the original continuous variables. We're trying to reformulate the absolute values, and that leads to some continuous variables that are what have very wide bounds. So when we test it, we actually have a piece of software that in particular Pedro wrote to transform optimization models into QBOs. And even in the case with the 6 patients, you would end up with a QBO of size like 300 or something like that. I remember late at night with Julien and Iago trying to work this out, and we are like, no, this is not going to scale. This is like just trying to shove it into a quantum computer. There is no chance. We need to decompose this problem. We need to think cleverly about this problem, and this is the solution that we can.
Perfect. Thank you, David. That was, I mean, I think very well deserved the time for such an interesting solution. I saw there was one question by Samuel a few minutes ago. What is the virtual best solver? And I think, Samuel, you might also be able to unmute yourself and join the discussion.
I don't know if the question is for me. I did mention
David, yeah,
that
the question is for you.
Okay. So what we did, the first thing that we did, we formulated it as a mixed integer program, and we passed it to some commercial tools. So we passed it to, there are some few famous ones. Ruby is one of them, Simplex is another one of them, Express is another one of them. At the end of the day, the problem with those is that eventually, like if the problem grows large enough, like you hit a complexity bound and it just blows up. For the test case, though, like with 6 variables, you can just enumerate them if you wanted. So you would literally know what the solution was. It was later tested with data sets of size 100, like 100 patients. And for those, we did use some of those commercial mixed integer programming software. Obviously, we didn't submit that solution. It would have defeated the fact of having a quantum part of it.
All right. Samuel, did this answer your question?
He says, no, I can unmute myself. Oh, unmute myself.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Then we might have time for one quick other question before we would continue with the next presentation. If anyone has a question, feel free to put them in the F&A channel. And I'm not sure, I thought you would be able to unmute yourself. Some of you said you couldn't. or might be different circumstances.
I have a question. Can
Uh-huh.
I? So how many qubits did you use, and how much time did it take of computing to reach the score it did?
That's a great question actually, and in fact, something. Yeah, sorry, I forgot to mention that our method is rather cheap on the quantum computing side. Basically because you're just solving an optimization problem over the size of the original binary variables and without considering any of the extra variables. So it's basically the number of patients minus one variables on your on the optimization problem that you rely on the quantum computer. If you are using, for example, QAOA or quantum annealing, that number is the same as the number of qubits. So that's why, and compared to the original problem, where a six variable problem would become like 300, then it's rather cheap from the quantum computational side of things. So yeah, long story short, number of patients minus one.
And David, just very quick, can you give an intuition of what this Graeber basis is? Like, why is this basis the best basis to find the optimization in a polynomial time?
Yeah, totally. So basically, the Graeber basis is all the vectors that satisfy ax equals 0 except the 0 vector. So what that defines is which, long story short, what that would mean is which steps in that lattice would maintain you in a feasible state.
Okay.
So yeah, because you keep satisfying the constraints as since you keep making all these switches, and in fact that was the observation too, that together with Pedro, Yerang, and Iago, we're like, wait a second. So what makes this problem feasible or infeasible? And what makes the problem feasible or infeasible is that you switch patients from one group to the other. So those permutations were the ones that defined the Graeber basis for this problem. So at the end of the day, decided and in the code you can see we had a piece of code that would call a quantum annealer or a simulator or QAOA and would get a subset of the Graeber basis by solving a qubit. But on the other hand, the function that we used was the one that had our analytical solution, which is basically +1 -1, and then you go throughout the whole diagonal, and then you move one and the other diagonal and so forth. So basically all these exchanges.
That's very, very
It took
interesting.
it took some time, and we sat
Yeah,
in
no,
front
it's
of
a
a
very
board
great
for a couple.
reformulation of the problem. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think we have to move on to the next presenter, but thank you, David. This was an amazing presentation and a very, very intelligent solution. So thank you so much to David and the team. And the next speaker is Oleksii Adamov. So feel free to share your screen and start presenting whenever you're ready.
Yeah, hi, do you see my screen?
Yes.
So hello everyone, my name is Oleksii Adamov. I'm first year master student in artificial intelligence at the Taras Shevchenko National University of Kyiv, which is located in Ukraine. So the objective of the challenge was to minimize the objective function, which corresponds to discrepancy. And as an algorithm, I choose very popular QA algorithm. But the problem was that original objective function was not a QBO. So I just tried to substitute the absolute value operations to the squaring. And also I substituted so in a way that I have only one binary variable, and in this way I can represent cost Hamiltonian. I can obtain a cost Hamiltonian from QBO matrix in this formulation of the objective function. But however, since I'm still kind of computing classically, energy expectations at the end of the QA as the mean of energy of observed samples, I still use the original objective function to have a more precise result. So in this formulation, only one constraint left. It is the same number of patients must be in groups. For this, I use XY mixer. Hamiltonian for this is shown on the screen. So when we apply this mixer in QA, it preserves Hamming weight of computational basis states, so basically number of ones. And by doing so, we significantly decrease the search space because instead of searching for the whole space, we search only the symmetric ones, which have the same number of 0 and 1s. The problem with this approach is that for QA mixer, it is needed that we can transition from any feasible solution to another, but one layer of XY mixer cannot achieve this. So I apply 16 layers, but with the same parameter. It kind of showed great results, though I can use fewer or more layers if needed. And on the slide, you see decomposition of one XY mixer layer on the left and XX plus YY gate on the right. So now I need to start from the sum solution, my QA. I kind of firstly just assigned it randomly, but then I thought that maybe warm starting was a great idea. So I kind of thought that discrepancy, I can minimize the mean of the discrepancies, approximate it with the closest pairs. So I find closest pairs of points, and I partition them into one group. So one goes into 0 group, another patient goes into one group. Then I delete them, and then I find closest pairs again. And so this results in time complexity n squared of preprocessing. Now the biggest problem is that QA requires a number of patients minus 1 qubits, and it's like 99 qubits, which is unsimulatable. And so I tried to do clustering. The idea is that patients that are located near each other should go also in different groups, and I can just compute local discrepancies and then integrate the solutions. So the problem also was with number of clusters and number of patients. I kind of went with simple approach. I used more expensive clustering, which took n cubed log n time, but it partitioned patients in exactly 5 clusters with 20 points each, so I can use the same algorithm as before. And since clusters now have an even number of patients and solution satisfies the constraints, just trivialification is enough to satisfy the global constraints. So overview of the solution is as follows. I partition patients into 5 clusters. Then for every cluster, I compute a warm star by using the closest pairs algorithm. Then I perform QA. I went with depth 1 and 2050 shots, 500 shots, and I used the Cobble optimizer with 20 iterations. And I ran it 3 times with different random starting angles so that I have a better representation of solutions. Then I unify these cluster solutions. So I achieved result of 0.89 score. And so about possible improvements, I understand that my solution might be not like great, but I think we can work on better unification. It's just now it is just a trivial, but you can like consider lines that partition clusters. Also use better clustering algorithms and use deeper QA because I used only depth one and kind of more depth didn't do much, but with a better optimization routine, it might change. And lastly, I wanted to thank you for this challenge, and it was a great experience for me. I'm only starting with quantum computing, and by trying to solve this, I kind of learned a lot, especially about the XY mixers. So I didn't know about them when I started. Thank you. Now you can ask your questions.
Well, thank you, Oleksii, for participating, and very impressive to come up with this solution. Which kind of questions are there in the audience? I think now everyone is able to unmute themselves, so feel free to go ahead.
So, Oleksii, can you explain a bit more the unification strategies for your future work? I think you said you had an idea. Can you explain it a bit more?
Well, I thought about running more QAs on the brink of partitioning of clusters. So we can build a line that separates clusters, and then we also can perform QA on another kind of on points which are near the separation line. I think it's, but I couldn't finish this idea, so I kind of had it, but I'm not even sure it could work.
Yeah, no, that's a very good idea. And where did you run the QA away? Did you use simulators?
Well, yeah, I used Qiskit and Google Colab.
Yeah, the state vector simulation, right?
Yes, I ran on GPU, but kind of it was only 19 qubit circuits, so it was okay in CPU.
What was the single biggest challenge for you in coming up with the solution and implementing it? Is there one part that was particularly challenging or a bottleneck?
Well, I think I had some problems with clustering before I found this constraint k-means clustering, and also like I had to find these XY mixers and realize them, understand them. So before that, I wasn't familiar with them. So it was maybe the greatest challenge was the XY mixers, just because I didn't know about them before.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, we got the feedback from David. Very clever. The part of clustering, Oleksii. If there are no more questions, then we move on. Thank you very much, Oleksii, for the presentation. And again, very impressive to come up with these kind of results early on in your quantum computing career. So that is very, very great to see. So next one would be Peter. I think, Peter, you raised before that you had issues. I'm not sure if you joined via the correct link. Can we
Yeah, I
once
think I joined
confirm?
it with my other email. So
So are you able to share the screen?
yeah, let me try. Okay, can you guys see
Yeah,
it?
perfect. Yes.
Okay.
Then, Peter, the stage is yours.
Okay, thank you very much for the introduction. And I'm Peter. I'm a first-year PhD student now at University of Cambridge doing some quantum computation and quantum information stuff. I'm here to talk about my submission, my solution for the clinical trial problem hosted by the Aqora platform. And first of all, I think I will say a big thank you for both Janice and Laia, because thank you for organizing this amazing event, and I've really learned a lot from the journey. Okay. So I'll just give a brief overview of the background. I think people already knows about it. So in medical research, like in drug design, it typically involves some like assignment for the subjects to different treatment groups. And one key opponent is to identify the distinct subject cohort for the specific treatment. For example, if we have two groups here and we want to classify who will benefit more from the red drug and the black drug, then we need to classify them according to their attributes, which is kind of the physical abilities. And to optimize the problem, we have to convert it to mathematical terms. So let's say we convert the first group to a list of binary numbers like 0 and 1s. So if the patient 1 is in group 1, then just the first list will be just 1, 1, 0, 1, and so on. And then W here, I think, is in general the physical abilities of the patient, for example, the age or the kind of concentration of the alkaline phosphatase in their blood, something like that. And we also have some constraints. And the ultimate goal of this problem is just to reduce the discrepancy, which is which consists of the covariance, the first moment and the second moment of covariance, defined here as delta mu and delta sigma. So as you can see, if we make different assignments with these binary numbers, then we have different discrepancies. In order to minimize this, then it will naturally comes to the combinatory optimization problem. And if the number of patients is very large, like 100 in our case, then it is kind of not possible for a classical computer to resolve the problem. At least it will take a very long time to run it. So that's why we seek the quantum solutions. And typically there are two solutions. The first one is gate-based, QAOA, I think Oleksii talk about this. It's a very powerful strategy, but yeah, there are some advantages I will talk about later. So it just involves layers of repeating structures of the mixture and the cost Hamiltonians, and you want to find the optimum parameters during each layer to minimize your cost function. Another way to do it is the road I went down, so it's called quantum annealing. So basically, it's a strategy that is very suitable for the problems that you want to find out the lowest energy throughout all the energy landscapes, and it's very fast. And actually, this table is copied from last year's D-Waves report, and if they don't add in any bias because they are doing the quantum annealing, then we can see that the elapsed time is for the IonQ QAOA algorithm is much larger than the D-Waves and quantum annealing approach. So that's why I thought maybe quantum annealing is a better solution to this problem. And because QAOA, well, if you want to find the optimum parameters, then it's an NP hard problem. So it's kind of takes a very long time to simulate and to run. And if you want to keep the same accuracy level as the quantum annealing, then you need to increase your circuit steps, which is another is not very resource efficient. On the other hand, the quantum annealing only requires a very low runtime to run it. And I also compared this with some classical simulations, like I used the C+ optimizer. And as you can see, when the number of patients goes up, the kind of elapsed time grows exponentially. And I could not actually run it locally on my computer with 100 patients because it just takes ages to run. So what exactly is quantum annealing? Well, if you write down your initial Hamiltonian and the S is a control parameter, we set it to 0 initially. And now we only have the first Hamiltonian, which is just the strategy to put all your quantum initial state into superpositions of 0 and 1s, and then you gradually turn on your parameter S. Like you can do it in, like, with some controls in your lab, and then do it in the automatic process. Then in the meantime, you add in some bias, which will gives you your landscape of your problems, and it gives you different energy and levels. And then you add in also the coupler. I think the coupler is a kind of core part or cornerstone of this strategy, because it just entangles every qubit inside your machine. And then you could find the global mean energy in your landscape. Okay. So what I did with deal with packaging is that I used the hybrid sampler called Leap. And initially, I just defined all these variables, like, for example, 100 patients, and we could do some mathematical tricks. It's actually very easy. Just remove the variables, like, to the right-hand side, and then you just reduce the variables by half. And also, because the way I think the omega or W, whatever it is constructed, is that you are trying to find out the average and the variance of the variables, so they sum up to 0, and you can just do some simplifications there as well. But the main challenge I face is that I introduced these 9 variables here to deal with the absolute value. This is because when you write down the discrepancy or the objective you want to minimize, you see there's some absolute value, and you cannot just directly encode this in your solution. So you could do it with the quadratics, like you put a brackets and square it, but that probably will gives you, I tested it, it will only gives you a local mean, not a global mean. So the score is not as good as you just directly do it with absolute value. So that's why I made this substitution. So you have another set of constraints, and then from there you can do your sampling. And this number is a little bit tricky, because all the line code above, these are just constraints, but this line in particular is the kind of accuracy you want to keep to make your final score high. And this number, I think, it does not come out of nowhere. I just kind of do it by trial and error, and I think 0.45 is like the best solution I could get. So that's why I highlighted. And then I just run it with hybrid solver, and then sample it and submit, and the score is quite satisfactory, at least from my perspective. And also another parameter is I set a maximum runtime to be 20, but actually the sampler only took, I think, 3 or 4 seconds to run it. So that's another advantage of using this approach. And yeah, I think that's a very quick presentation, and that's everything. And like, thanks Janice and Neira again for this amazing event. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Peter, for your presentation and your submission. So very cool. And also congrats for starting your PhD. I think last time we talked, you were just about to start it, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Questions from the audience to Peter and his solution? You can also put their questions in the F&A or Q&A, I guess it should be. I'm happy to bring them up.
Okay, there's
actually one.
Yeah.
One by Isaac. Where was it? In the chat. How do you only have 9 variables?
Oh, no, sorry, I should clarify. It's not exactly 9 variables. It's 100 plus 9, so it's 109. The 9 variable is like extra variables I introduced to deal with these absolute values. So, like, because we have 9 absolute values, we want to minimize the summation of all these values. So that's why we have extra 9. Right, 333.
And Peter, how important is this extra constraint that you added, this 0.45?
This number is, I think, if we check the okay, maybe just right here. So this number is the constraint for the minimization of all the UIs, the 9 values, divided by the number of patients, so it's 100. So like if you
It's like here you're not taking into account rho, for example, or are you?
Though I have because yeah, I think it's because I didn't add the row in this presentation, but the kind of the weight of the UIs is different. It's like 111,
Okay.
0.5. Yeah.
So
I
the
took it.
UI is the this delta mu
Yeah,
or
exactly.
delta sigma times rho.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So the continuous variables.
Yeah.
So that's basically what you're minimizing, right?
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
so you're saying that you just want solutions that are smaller than this, otherwise it's like not good enough. Like that's a bit the idea.
Yes, but the problem is like I want the solution maybe if I set it to 0.2, then the solution will be better. But actually it will not return the optimized. It's not as good as 0.45. I'm not sure how that works, but it just take a little bit long time to run it, and the solution is not ideal. Maybe that's kind of the topic for further research, but like 0.45 is the kind of number I find that gives me the optimum solution right now.
So you
If
found different results if you had this constraint versus if you didn't have this constraint. Like if you just remove it, then you
if I just
Mhm.
that would not give me as good as like the current score.
That's very curious.
Yeah, that's very curious because I kind of have done many experiments about this, but I'm not sure. Maybe it's a bug in the code or something like that. But it's just like whenever I add in this line, like the solution will change.
And that's with the data, like with the submission, or with the data that we gave you, or both.
With the submission, I think.
It might be something related to the actual data.
Okay,
Maybe.
because yeah,
I'm not
this
sure.
number will depends heavily on the weights, like the data we have. Because, for example, sometimes the delta mu1 will be very large, and the other factors is very small. So the constraint will kind of be confused about how it resolves the problem. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean it's curious. It's worth investigating further, I would say.
Yeah.
Great. Are there any other questions in the audience?
Excuse me, are you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
So about your relation, because I see you have a inequality constraint, so I want to know if you need to pass it into a equality constraint in quantum annular.
What do you mean? Do you mean how to pass in the inequality in the quantum annular?
Yes.
I'm not sure if I could answer that question because actually I tried to optimize the quantum annealing approach with the kind of the question you just asked. So I want to see what's the kind of intrinsic algorithms or code they use to pass down this inequality, but I couldn't not find any solutions to that because I'm not sure it's like a black box to me. So yeah, I'm sorry.
Yes, because I try to do the same approach, but I have a very problem which transform inequality constraint, which inequality constraint, which equality constraint. Because when I do that, I add adding a lot of variable, especially in case of QER algorithm. So
I see,
I'm surprised.
Are you doing the kind of because are you trying to do when I first implemented this with Qiski, I think they're trying to convert the kind of U1, for example, to some binary numbers or some other variables, and then from there they're trying to do the optimization. But I think that's I have many variables as well at that time. I think it's like 400-ish, so it's very difficult to do. But I think D-Wave they have a kind of I'm not sure where is the code, but they have these intrinsic packages that could resolve this problem. Yeah, that's a huge issue I encountered at the early stage.
Yes, in fact, thank you.
So you're using a hybrid approach here, right?
Yes, hybrid. Yeah, and there are a lot of optimization we could do actually because I think the the pipe flow for the hybrid sample list they put down on the website, they involve some kind of customizations you could do, but I haven't done much research in that area. But you could do, for example, you could add your initial guess of your sampling strategies, and that could give you a speed up, I think.
Great. Thank you so much, Peter.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the nice presentation. Well, if there are no more questions, let's move to our final speaker, Julien Mellaerts. Please feel free to share your screen and start presenting.
Yeah, thank you. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to present my submission and my solution for this challenge. Thank you for all other guys for their nice presentation also. So I will share my screen. Okay, so let me know when you see my screen.
Yeah, we can see the
Yeah,
content
thanks.
optimization.
Okay. So thank you, Ingenii, thank you, Aqora, because it was a very nice challenge, and it's I think it's important to have the opportunity to work on real world use case to see what quantum can do, and of course what quantum cannot do also. So I will repeat it once again, but so the objective of this challenge is to optimize clinical trial, and so in the context of new drugs development, new drugs design, we need to accurately evaluate it. So to do so, we need to minimize the discrepancy, which means that when we have a group of patients, we need to find the subset of this group, so which minimize the discrepancy, so which maximize, we can see the similarity between all patients. So what was for me the goal was to find a quantum formulation of this problem, and as the hope of quantum computing is to get a quantum advantage, it means that we are targeting an accurate and speed up in terms of comparing to classical. So the goal is to find the best formulation of this problem so that we could expect quantum advantage when the hardware will be available, and to see which kind of solver behaves the work the best, and yes. So so I have formulated the problem as a QUBO. So now we are, I think, familiar with what is a QUBO. So it allows us to formulate an optimization problem, and to find the goal is to find the minimum of cost function. So after formulating the problem as a QUBO, we can solve it using different kind of solvers. So either fully quantum or hybrid classical quantum, or quantum-inspired solver. Quantum-inspired here is using a classical algorithm to solve a quantum formulation of a problem. So for the solver, I didn't explore QIOA because QIOA targets nice quantum computers, so it's more designed for noisy QPUs, quantum computers. So when we would like to scale this use case, there is some chance that QIOA will not work well due to some barren plateaus and so on. So for me, it was not the way to take to solve this kind of optimization problem. So I focus on quantum annealers, to solve the QUBO. So first, before trying to solve it, we need to formulate it. So so this is what is a cubo. So we can see the cubo as a 2D matrix made of some linear terms and quadratic terms, and the goal is to find the minimum of this cost function. So we have we can see that in fact when we have n patients, we want to find a subset of these patients which minimize the discrepancy, as we have seen, and this is really close to the number partitioning problem. So the idea here is to formulate the clinical trial optimization as a number partitioning problem, and thus the goal is to minimize the difference between the sum of all the covariates in each group. So here is the formulation of the number partitioning, but we need to modify it a little bit so that it can be compliant with our use case here. And especially we need to add this constraint of ensuring that there is the same number of patients in the same group. So this is an additional constraint in the cubo, but at the end of the day, it's more or less the same thing as number partitioning. And here is how we can construct the cubo matrix, so the 2D matrix. So I will not go longer in details, but because I will not have the time. But yeah, this is the constructing of the cubo. So once the cubo matrix is constructed, we can now try to solve it. So we have seen that there is different kind of solvers. So the first one I tried is by using a quantum hardware. So D-Wave allows us to run some job on their hardware. So I tried to submit all instance of the challenge on the D-Wave hardware, and finally I create a binary, the BQM model, binary quadratic model from my cubo matrix, and then I submit it to the D-Wave hardware. And finally, what I can see is that the score is very low, and yeah, it's kind of logical because if you look at the cubo matrix of this particular use case, you can see that there are a lot of quadratic terms in the matrix, which means that we need a lot of qubits to be a neighbor on the hardware, which is not the case in the real world in the D-Wave QPU, because they are limited in the number of neighbor qubits. So D-Wave tries to find an embedding, so a map between the logical qubits, so the variables of the problem, and the physical qubits. And to do so, they need to use ancillary qubits, so extra qubits. And then it increases the noise in the final result. So this is why we get this low score. And we can see that using pure quantum hardware, we are close to something like, if I put some random solution, it's almost the same approximate score. So how can we improve that? We can use an hybrid quantum classical. So I used once again the D-Wave hybrid. So I instantiate the LEAP hybrid solver, and I submit the job, my cubo problem, and I try to increase as as much as possible, but I was limited because I have only a trial access. So in this case, the score is better, but it's not perfect because there are still some errors due to the quantum, in fact, that are introduced. So it will be interesting to run longer time to see if it could increase the score at the end. But fortunately, we have there is another possible hybrid stack that is possible. So D-Wave allows us to customize the hybrid stack. So we can define our own stack. So we can choose the classical part of the stack and the quantum one also. So this is the two components I used here. So this time the workflow is made of the hybrid between the classical, which is the tabu solver here, and a component which allows to decompose, in fact, the QUBO, and it tries to decompose the QUBO by selecting the decomposition which will be more, which will have better impact in the energy. And then the sub problem of the QUBO is sent to the QPU, and in the hybrid manner, like the previous one, you will try to solve it. And in this manner, I've been able to get a better score. So this one, this way to perform with the customized stack is a good way to work. And finally, I have also tried quantum inspired method. So here it's a fully classical solver. So we can use the tabu sampler and submit it. And in this case, as it's pure classical, I've been able to get this high score in an acceptable time. So to summarize, the good news is that the clinical trial optimization is eligible to a quantum formulation, which can be solved on a quantum hardware when it will be available. But actually, current hardware is too noisy to perform well. So we need to design an hybrid quantum classical stack or use the quantum inspired method to solve this problem. So thank you, Ingenii. Thank you, Aqora, for this great challenge.
Thank you, Julien. Thank you for the amazing solution. Yeah. Are there any questions in the audience?
I have a question about about the absolute value. So she's doing the same thing that it was Peter for absolute value, or you doing another thing for implement it?
No, in fact, in my case, I directly manage it in the construction of the QUBO matrix. So I don't know exactly. I don't remember exactly where it is, but it's directly managed in the QUBO matrix. So I don't need extra qubits to manage it. So for me, the number of variables in my problem is the number of patients. So in this case, 100. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that Peter used the absolute value formulation, and since absolute value is not a quadratic term, he had to use extra continuous variables. That's why he had extra 9 variables. But Julien, you're using the quadratic formulation. So instead of you're replacing the absolute value by a square. and
Yeah,
therefore
right.
it directly becomes a QO, and
Yeah,
you only
exactly.
need the binary variables of the
Yeah,
patients.
right.
Great. I actually do have a question. So do you know how the time it takes to execute this algorithm compares, like both the three algorithms that you tried, the fully quantum with quantum annealing, the hybrid one, and the table search? Do you
Yeah.
have an idea of time, execution times?
Yeah, so for the pure quantum, it's fast because you know that we are limited in the time we can run the process of quantum annealing because of the limited coherence time of qubits and so on. So it takes few microseconds to run the job.
Mm-hmm.
But in a perfect world, we would like to be able to get longer coherent time to be able to run the job longer to ensure that we reach the global minimum, in fact, because so quantum annealers use there is a statement in adiabatic theory which say that we are sure to stay in the ground state if we make evaluating the system slowly enough. So we would like to be able to run the problem on pure quantum for seconds, maybe minutes, to be sure to stay at the ground state, but it's not the case. For the LEAP hybrid, it was long. For the test I've done, it was about 30 seconds for the classical part and 2 seconds only for the quantum part for one instance, repeated each instance of the challenge problem. And it was approximately the same for the second version of the hybrid I used. And for the pure classical, it was I don't know, less than 1 minute per instance.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much. And just another quick question. So can you go to the hybrid workflow that you designed?
Yeah, this one.
Yes.
No,
no, not this.
this one.
Yeah, here. Can you comment a little bit on the energy impact decomposer? I'm not familiar with that.
I don't know exactly how it works, but what I understood is that they try to find to decompose the QUBO matrix so that it could effectively be run on the QPU part, on the quantum part, in fact. So they try to find a subset of the QUBO, and the subproblem is sent to the QPU, and they try to optimize which part they will run on the real QPU, in fact. This is what I understood, but I don't know exactly what happens inside, but this is what I understood.
And for example, do you think this workflow would work for the constraint optimization problem that Peter presented that did have some continuous variables, or is this just for QUBO problems?
It's just for QUBO. I guess because it's designed for binary variables, so not sure it could fit, but it could be interesting to see how it could fit.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Great. Well, if there are no more questions, let's go to the final part of this event. So,
Yes.
Janice, if you can share again.
Thank you, Julien.
Thank you so much
also
to
for
the
your
presenters.
submission and your presentation. I have to see the right. Yes. So yes, this have been the presenters. I assume you can see my screen again. We had 4 very good presentations. Thank you very much. And now coming to this final part, to the final ceremony and rankings. So first of all, to mention this again, each of these submissions was scored automatically on our platform based on the discrepancy. We have seen this being mentioned in the presentations. You can see that Julien and Peter actually improved over the solution that Mellaerts submitted. So this is the Ingenii solution. And then we have Bernal and Oleksii. So there's the four. Before I go to the next slide, let me quickly show you. And go to this one. Yeah, so because the first prize that we distribute award, can you see my screen again?
Yes.
The discussion? Yeah, because it's not highlighted. So the first one, we will actually give a special prize to David and his team. You can see here, you have been very clever in pointing out that we didn't specify the time zone. So next time we need to be more careful on this one. But we were very happy to receive your solution and to include it. So from the submitted solutions, you would have ranked third, but we will provide you with a special prize instead, since we officially, from our perspective, how we assumed it, closed the competition before, and also see your submission on the leaderboard to appear for the 1st of October. So I hope you can see the right screen again with the leaderboard. And now going to this special prize. So congrats, David and team. I know David isn't here anymore. I'm not sure if one of the others would be able to say something, want to say something.
Thank you. Yeah, David had to go, I think had to teach a lecture or something right now. But...
Right. Yeah. Thank you very much for your submission, and congratulations to this special prize. So for the next competitions, we will have the time zone attached. But yeah, as I said, a very nice solution, and happy to provide this special prize for you.
Nice, thank you.
Then we go to the next ones, and Mellaerts, I'm happy to
give
the mic to you.
So now let's go to the third prize that goes to Oleksii Adamov. So congratulations. Thank you so much. You are the only one who has done gate-based quantum solutions, so a QAOA. I think it was very smart to develop a QAOA solution with the hardware that we have today. And you used a very interesting clustering method to break down the problem. So for that, thank you so much. And you are awarded third prize. So if you want to say a few words.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the challenge.
Great, thank you. Okay, let's move to second prize that goes to Peter Young. Thank you so much, Peter. You used hybrid quantum classical solutions, and you were the only one who formulated this problem not as a QO, but as a constrained quadratic problem. And you got a very, very good score. So thank you for that, and congratulations.
Thank you, Mellaerts, for the award. And thanks for the help along the way. Thanks, Janice and Mellaerts. I'm very happy.
I appreciate that. Okay, and now we go to the first prize that goes to Julien Mellaerts. Congratulations. Yeah, you did a very, very complete submission. You submitted both classical, fully quantum, and two hybrid methods, and you still got a very, very high score. So for that, you get first prize. And thank you very much for your submission and your work.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ingenii. Thank you, Aqora. Thank you.
Well, congratulations to all of the winners. And now, to finish off this event, I just wanted to say that if you're in the audience and you're new to quantum, or you want to learn more about quantum and their applications, in particular in life sciences, we have this free quantum machine learning fundamentals course that's open to everyone. You will find different visualizations to understand how quantum algorithms work and what's going on behind a quantum computer, and understand the intuition behind quantum information and quantum mechanics. And then you will also find applications within drug discovery using quantum machine learning tools, and different evaluation metrics to understand how to select one algorithm or the other. And soon we'll also be releasing a development tool that's for data scientists within life sciences to apply their quantum algorithms faster and to select the best approach to get started with quantum. So we would be very happy if you want to start learning or continue learning quantum, if you want to join this course and learn more about quantum and give us feedback and keep improving and fostering the adoption of quantum technologies. So thank you very much. Here you have all the information if you ever want to join.
Yeah, thank you, Laia. Thank you for providing this course. And I encourage everyone to participate in this one and take it. I think education is really important in the space, providing these kind of offers. Also quickly from the Aqora side, what is there to offer? So actually there's more competitions going on right now and coming up. So for instance, there's the QInnoVision World Challenge that you can see here on the left. It actually includes multiple use cases. Some are benchmarked as the one that we've been discussing today. Some are more open. So there's companies like Thales and Merck providing their use cases. Feel free to check them out and participate in those. Then I also want to highlight the malicious login detection by Novacine. This is a competition that is actually ending end of this month, so there's still a few more days. I know that Peter, for instance, also participated in this one. And then last but not least, there's also the next upcoming one that we are hosting with Quantum Signals on developing quantum neural networks for stock price trend predictions. We are just finalizing this one before we will publish it also in the coming few weeks. And then as a very last announcement from the Aqora side, actually I want to introduce a new service offering to you, which is the Quantum Algorithm as a Service, or Q3AS as we call it. We launched it today, so if you head over to q3as.aqora.io or aqora.io/Q3AS, we are providing a service where you can easily develop and visualize your quantum algorithms. We are also providing some free credits. So we'd be very happy if you check this one out and provide us also with any kind of feedback that you would have. And we hope that it can help you for developing your solutions, whether it's for the next competition or also for your next projects outside of such a competition. And with that being said, thank you very much, everyone, for attending today. I see we're actually very much in time, concluding at 6:30 Berlin time. Yeah, thank you so much for this nice presentation and for really making this very first competition actually on Aqora a very, very big success. So very cool.
Yeah, thank you to all of the participants, all the presenters, and everyone in the audience for joining. It was an amazing experience.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect. Then see you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.